in the more mature audience here, and the kids. You cannot hit a target that you cannot see, and everybody has to have goals. We set those goals when we were 12 years old, and we were competing against each other to achieve those goals. So I'm going to give you guys a bunch of little lessons, and what I want to do, I want you to follow these things when you go home, and these are my lessons. So the first one will be setting goals. Now please write that down in that sense, because we'll go over a quick lesson at the end. So now we're setting goals, right? You got time? You wrote it? You good? You good? All right. So now let me tell you who those two kids were. We were 12 years old, and one of those kids became Hype Williams, a very famous movie director and video director. The other kid was Irv Gotti, a very famous music executive, and then myself, Daymond John. And sooner or later, those 12-year-old kids would control the industry 15 years later by the path that we made. Now, I'm out there making clothes, and I'm selling clothes, and I'm doing exactly what I love to do. And I'm going up the ladder, and I'm going on tour with LL Cool J. And then all of a sudden, a comment was made by a brand. And the brand was called Timberland. And Timberland made this comment, and the comment said, "We do not sell our boots to drug dealers." And that was the comment. Now, the next point that I want to make is homework. You have to do your homework. So for all those entrepreneurs, this is how Timberland failed. Timberland makes, as I always say to people, the best boot in the world. And if you make the best boot in the world and your consumer buys that best boot if they're hiking or camping, what happens? You do not have to buy another boot for a year or 2 years because it is the best boot in the world. But if your consumer is buying it for a fashion and an aesthetic, and as soon as the boot gets dirty or it has any kind of wrinkles in it, they're buying another one. So now that consumer, who I was buying it 3 times a month. And that means that 80% of Timberland's business was coming from consumers who were buying it from an aspect of being fashion. And not doing your homework, which is my second point, potentially destroyed them. And many other companies this happened to. I went home after hearing this comment, and I said, I have to come up with a company and a name that's going to be proud of the consumer that they sell to. It's going to put these people in the ads. It's going to say that I make profit off these people as well as I invest back into them. So I came up with the name, and I remember putting it on a shirt and a hat. And I remember the first day walking outside with that name. I was walking down the street, and I had the name on, and the name was FUBU. That's the name I was walking down the street with. Now, I didn't know this, but a girlfriend of mine had a brother who was gay, and he came up and gave me the biggest, sloppiest, wettest kiss on my cheek and said, "I always knew that about you, and I'm glad that you finally have learned to express yourself." So then I realized that FUBU down south doesn't really stand for what I thought it would stand for. So I had to reevaluate the name, and change my phone number. He kept calling me. So I changed the name,